Yeah, in the light of all the discussions we've been having and the largely MBA flavor that it has taken on, the last speaker is someone who's not an MBA but will give many MBAs across the world a run for their money with the way he's running his enterprise. And personally, I have known him for the last 7 years, and it started with one city, with Bangalore. He started his venture called EduMedia when he was in his second year of engineering. Started with one city, went on to 5 cities, which went on to 25 cities, and now he's in 5 countries. And like Abhishek said, he's a personal inspiration, but a little more about the kind of work he's doing apart from having started his own organization. So EduMedia has 4 different components, one of such as activity. It organizes a massive talent hunt, if you may, for students for Horlicks biscuits. It runs the only school principal magazine in India called Mentor, which goes to 10,000 schools. He's also pioneered a very innovative approach in schools through one of the parts of his company called School Cinema. So he uses very interesting films in schools towards life skills and value education, and that's doing phenomenally well already. And the fourth part being Crayon, which also organizes events in schools and connects corporates to do meaningful events in schools. Apart from that, he is also an advisor to the Karnataka Knowledge Commission on secondary education. He is also advising the Bihar government on education. He is the only Indian who has done a lot of work for the last 2 years in Pakistan, and his events have gone there as well. And a few schools in Pakistan will be using School Cinema next year. Apart from that, he has started Yuva Janagraha. For those of us who have heard of the NGO Janagraha, he has started the youth with Yuva Janagraha, and he's also worked with Akshay Patra Foundation. In fact, his company runs the Akshay Patra Life Skills, which is currently reaching 60,000 students and is going to reach, I hear, like 20,000 students next year. I think what inspires us the most, like Abhishek said, is his congruence, his sheer energy, and his clarity. And with a round of applause, please join me in welcoming Saeed.
I told my professor, Dr. Anantram, a long time back, that one of the best things I did when I was in college is I didn't do any entrance exams. Everybody else in my college were doing GREs and CATs, and that probably left me with a lot of energy to do a lot of other things in life. And I remember telling Professor Anantram that I'm not going to be going to IIM to study because I don't think I have the capacity to clear the CAT exam, but someday I would be there talking and teaching them a few things. And I've already done that a few times in the past few years. When I started off in school, I used to be an outstanding student. Standing outside the classroom. I used to talk a lot in class. I used to talk a lot. So what do you do with a child who talks too much? The teachers put me outside. Now when I look back, I realize that my teachers didn't realize my talent. I get paid for talking today. Profession, I train people how to speak. I didn't learn that formally. And that's how I started my career, going to schools. There's a school not very far away from here called Sri Kumaran's Children's Home. And the principal of that school was a judge for one of the debates that I was participating in. I think I blew her away literally, so she said, "Why don't you teach my kids?" I had no clue that one statement of hers would change the way I look at life. Here I was, an 11th standard student teaching 10th standards debate. Alright? And that school was no big shakes those days. I'm talking about the mid-90s, 96, 97. And it went on to create some of the best debaters of Bangalore. And I realized that I had a flair for working with young people. So, one school became 2, became 3, realized that I was having a great time. And in the meantime, I was doing chemical engineering. I wanted to be a doctor, but there were some 500 free seats, that's what they call it. I had a 1500 ranking, which is not bad at all in a CET. But I didn't get into medicine, so what do someone do in India? If you don't get into medicine, what do you do?
Engineering.
Absolutely. Chemical engineering. After 2 years of doing engineering, I had 16 subjects back. 1-6. And I had great leadership qualities. So all of Bangalore University engineering colleges were closed down for 2 weeks because I did a strike. Got them all closed down, and what was our demand? Have full carryover system. Demand. Very interesting, because when I look back at that year, that was my second year. I had to fail a year. I had to stay back a year. My mother has used the choices to words, "Khandan ka naam barbaad kar diya ladke ne." Because my sister always got that goddamn distinction. I don't know why she would get that. Right? And we would have a comparison. Look at your sister. So I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that. Sometimes it's even the brother. Alright? And if I look back, I had that 1 year to wait. So what do? So I said, I used to be my college cultural secretary. The only thing that I knew was to go to schools and do some debate club training programs. So I said, let's start an NGO. Young India Progressive Activity Trust was started. We were doing training programs in schools to teach them communication. Because I realized that in our schools, we teach after 18 years. Have you heard of this term called corporate training? After 18 years of going to school and college, if you have to teach someone communication skills, what the hell did we teach them in schools and colleges? I mean, you have to teach them team building? Wow. Yes, there are great things about our educational system, but there are certain lacunas that needs to be addressed. Great things because I'm a product of the system, and I'm proud of it. And my worry, believe me, is that we're making too many changes in the system that we study. India is on its forefront because of its traditional education system. And we've got great guys trying to change everything about it. You know, Indian education system is changing like Indian cities. When you walk into any new cities, do you even realize that anything else existed before? You know, our idea of modernization is break the old one and start a new building. There are some core values that we miss out. And that's what we set out to do. There were good things happening in our educational system, but there were certain things which were not. So can we address that? And that's how it started. So 2 years on, became very popular, did loads of workshops for schools and colleges. And I thought I'm going to grow up to be a chemical engineer, right? So that was the trust, which was my hobby, passion. 2001, 2000, that was when I passed out of college. I wanted to do this full time. I didn't see myself working anywhere. And obviously nobody gave me a job in campus recruitment. Because they look at your marks, and my track record was quite great. 16 subjects back, and then barely scraping through the other 4 semesters in my 3rd and 4th year. Right? So, I wanted to do something on my own. And this is what I wanted to do. But then I had seen my mother work for 25 years in an NGO, running an NGO. Right? She loves working with women, but half her life she was running around trying to collect funds. And I realized that most of the NGOs, that's what they do. We've got over 1 million NGOs in this country. Registered, over 1 million. Sometimes I wonder what they do. Because if you had all of them actually contributing, we wouldn't be living in a country like what we are living today. Somewhere, I've had bad experiences with NGOs. I know people from NGOs are sitting over here. Because there's that lack of clarity between my personal goal and my organizational objective. And I have that question to answer. Jairam, you were talking about a person like me when you talked about the cars and the bikes and the holidays. I was in Goa this morning. With my entire office. I loved my watches and my perfumes. I was fiercely ambitious. And I didn't see myself living on public money because NGO is public money. And I didn't want to make compromises in my life. But on the other hand, didn't want to make the compromise of the core value we started the trust was to add value to the Indian educational system. So we said, we start an organization, which will be a private limited company, which got registered in the year 2002, doing the same things as we did in the trust, but we were proud of making wealth. We were proud of creating wealth. Today, when I look back at some of the decisions that we've taken, people still find it strange that how could you actually, run an organization which is commercially viable. I make a lot more money than I can even dream of, whether you were an MBA here or in the Harvards. I still make a lot more money than most guys do. right? But on the other hand, just this year, my team would have done training programs on life skills for over 200,000 children in different parts of this country. We would have done events, if you've heard of events like the Horlicks Biscuits, the Pogo Amazing Kids Awards, the ESPN Star Sports Quiz, the National Geographic's Junior Hunt, to the National Geographic's Green Planet, to the ITC Young Ideas for India contest, they were all thought, created, executed by my company. Events which were commercial in nature, because it was created by corporates. But I said that you have the money, you are spending it, right? You're anyways going to be spending that money. Can we use that money to add value to the youth? That's how Crayon is working. On the other hand, give you a very specific example of an MLA from Bangalore. She's now a minister for power. Shubha Karandaje, right? Her entire constituency of Yashwantpur has around 7,600 students going in class 9 and 10. She has funded a life skills training program, which we probably do in some of the best schools of the country, like Goenka or the Doom School. For the government school children, it's funded by her. Are we making money out of it? Yes, we do. We do. I'm a private limited company and I pay my staff really, really well. In my years of working with people, I realized any organization that you run, you need to keep them highly motivated. It's very easy to keep yourself motivated. But keeping a team of 100, 120 full-time employees completely motivated, money is a factor. Right? And so that's the reason why any project that we take up, we're very clear. In fact, there's so much of transparency. Akshaya Patra is one good example. Right? Akshaya Patra is food for the stomach. The program that I do, Akshaya Life Skills, is food for the mind. Akshaya Patra brings kids to the schools today. My program takes kids to the colleges tomorrow. And that's how the measurability of our program is done. If you check history there, in the past 3 years, the kids that we worked with in Akshaya Patra, their results, their SSLC results, though that's not what we wanted to do. The focus of our program was to make them think bigger in life. Over 30% increase in academic performance. 27% increase in higher education enrollment. But we're not doing that free. We charge Akshaya Patra. And what does Akshaya Patra do? Goes to a corporate and says, hey, listen, you need to pay 1,500 rupees per child to feed them for a year. You need to add another 250 rupees to give them a life skills program for a year. And that's what we do. The Rahul Gandhi's Rajiv Gandhi Mahila Vikas Parishad in Raebareli in Amethi, we are technical partners. They run a similar program there. Manipal Foundation runs a similar program funded by them in Rajasthan and in Bihar. So if you look back, there are a few things that really matter to me. I was not a good student in school and college simply because I got most of my learning even before I started going to school, I think. I lost my granddad before I was 6 years old. And I remember 2 of my biggest lessons of my life have definitely come in from him. And I can definitely share one with you. My granddad was someone who made it really big in life. Just down this road, this for me was a picnic road, by the way, when we were small kids. And for me to drive up in a traffic like this is unimaginable. We had a huge farmhouse just down this road, where we had horses as well, so you can imagine the size of the farmhouse. And a guy who never went to school went on to make it so big in life. And as a small kid, a 5-year-old, I used to always try on a Sunday evening to get back home. You didn't want to go back home because Monday morning was what? School, right? Yeah. So I remember one of the days he said that, you need to go to school because if you go to school, you study well, you become a big man. And I turned around and like a very sharp-witted 5-year-old told him that you never went to school, how did you make it big in life? My granddad said that, who told you I never went to school? He said, Mama told me everything. So my granddad said, no, I went to school. Quick came my reply, I want to see your school. They said, next week when you come back, I'm going to show you my school. So next Saturday week, promptly I landed up in my granddad's house. You know what was the first thing I asked him when I saw his face? I want to see your school. So he put me on his Fiat. It used to be an elegant Fiat, a very old model of Fiat. We landed up going to his timber yard and that's what his business was. He stopped there and I said, this is the place where you work. He said, no, this is my school. I think I was a smart kid. I asked him, where are your teachers? He looked at me and said, "You know what this is?" I said, "Eyes." "You know what this is?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Those are my teachers." He said, "If you keep your eyes and ears open, you've got absolute..." that you need to learn to survive on this planet. Absolutely everything. If you want a lesson on survival, a lot of you are struggling NGOs. Want a lesson on survival? Step out on the street, go to the next signal. You have a small kid there who just came up to your car or your bike and asked you for some money. Look into her eyes, she'll teach you a lesson on survival. She has no clue what she's going to eat for dinner. She has absolutely no idea where to sleep today or what's going to happen tomorrow morning. And yet, they can afford to smile. Are we aware of lessons like that in our lives? Keep your eyes open, there's a lot for us to learn. So, for me, as an individual, it's just been a journey of learning and going forward. And there are a few things that have inspired me, and a couple of words from a few friends that I've worked with. One of them was, people who traveled a great distance in life knew very early where they wanted to go. I think I was quite clear where I wanted to go. In fact, more clearer was where I didn't want to go. I didn't want to work. I didn't want to do an MBA. I didn't want to do further studies. Very clearly, I knew what I didn't want to do. And that gave me clarity and a mind space to start thinking of what I want to do. Invariably, what I find with a lot of young people, I work with them, that's my profession today, is that they're doing so many other things. Class 7, can you beat it? Class 6, they start going for an IIT entrance exam. I feel like murdering their parents. Now imagine a kid, class 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 7 years of going for tutorial classes and doesn't make it to the IIT. I'm on the advisory board for the IIT Delhi for academics. Half of them don't want to be there. I swear, they don't want to be there. So the point that I'm making is that clarity is something which would come when we can, take off stuff which is irrelevant. Do you have that ability to do it? As an NGO, it's very, very important. If you're running an organization, the biggest question that I think needs to be answered, what's your personal goal and what's your organizational goal? Very often the confusion comes because the two are intertwined and you can't differentiate between the two. When someone talks about your organization, you want to talk about yourself. And when someone's talking about you, you're talking about the organization. When Akanksha introduced me, Janagraha is not a part of my work that I do with EduMedia, no. Akshaya Patra's Akshaya Life Skills, yes, that's a part of my work. Would I advise the Knowledge Commission in Karnataka or in Bihar? That's not a part of my company work. Very clearly, that's my personal space. I've devoted 2 days in a month to do work which satisfies me beyond the work that I do. So a lot of clarity. I've got horse blinds. Anyone coming to me and talking to me about any project, there's one horse blind and there's a North Star which decides. Is it with children? If not, I'm not interested. Is it to do with education? If not, I'm not interested. Is it to do with physics and math? I'm not interested. Is it to do with overall development? Then I'm interested. Once those 3 questions are clarified for me, then it falls into view of what makes sense to my organization. Otherwise, if it is very exciting, like Blue Ribbon, then I would use my personal space. So if I have to talk to you about one message that I want to leave, I have over the past 8 to 10 years spoken to innumerable young organizations, and this is one thing that I've picked up. Clarity between a personal goal and the organizational goal. And the other one is a certain humility. Because sometimes when I meet people running NGOs, it looks like they're God's gift to mankind. It's just not fair. Because out there are a lot of other people who are not a registered charitable trust or a registered NGO, and they're actually doing a lot of good work. And I can make a safe bet and say that a lot of people who are doing good work are going unnoticed. So let's not be very boastful about it. What it does for me is it prevents me from seeing things. Remember my granddad and that kid in the signal? I've seen my mother even now struggling. It's been 35 years that she's running an NGO. And she's still spending more than 90% of her time raising funds. I come from a belief that someone like an Azim Premji in Bangalore has the capacity to do a lot more social work than all NGOs in Bangalore put together. And that's the direction I've chosen for myself. But I'm not somebody who believes in a retirement plan and says that I'll take my holiday when I retire. I'm somebody who started off already. So in my little ways, in whatever way my organization can do, it's just getting out there and making a difference to the world we work in. So hope that in the days to come, we keep continuing doing that. Right? And very importantly, I'm just leaving you with this thought. What's my achievement? Tomorrow morning when I die, every single bit of the work that I do continues. It does not stop. Remember that. My biggest definition of a leader is the redundancy of a leader. The best leader is one who's actually redundant. You don't need that person around. I'm proud of the fact that I have people far more better and smarter than me, more educated than me, working for me, and more passionate than me. So another challenge which NGOs face, and that's what I want to leave you with, it's normally one person running the organization. How can you have a shared dream, a shared vision, a shared passion? And those are the biggest challenges. Not generating money, it's not finding out issues. Thank you very much.
Like this on the Blue Ribbon Road, because the fastest marketing pitch, if I can call that, or a request for help, if I can call that, was when about, I think, 7 days before the conference, we called Sultan and I shared, this is the situation, and Sultan said, I think it was less than 20 seconds, he said, I'll take care of your stationery. And he's really good at making things look very good. I think that the design side. So we have our folder and stuff that's sponsored by Daily Media, so thanks for that. Last but definitely not least, because somebody's life journey which has brought us here together today, somebody's life journey which was a part of right then working with ending the Cold War, life journey of two people who literally pledged their lives to the cause of youth and still continue to do so. Questions brief, otherwise we'll start having fights.
Very brief. For a startup, mentorship is more important or funding?
Mentorship versus funding. It depends.
Mentorship.
What you want. If it is your startup, what is it that you value more? And you're going to get that. Because you and I have this amazing ability of finding what we want. So if you're looking for a mentor, you will find a mentor.
For example, like if I want to scale up my venture, first question is, do I need to
But do you want to scale up your venture?
Do I need?
No, I'm asking you, do you want to scale up your venture?
This might
So do you want to scale up your venture?
let me add. I need advice for that.
My question is, do you
I'm capable
want to scale up your venture?
I'm capable of scaling my venture.
Then do it. No, because I'm playing with his own words because that's what is going to work for him.
Yes,
right? I'm asking you a very specific question. Do you want to scale up your venture? Do you think you can scale up your venture?
Yes.
What is more important, money or a mentor? Money. You're saying money. Go look for money, no?
बेसिकली खूबसूरत बीवी चाहिए और दहेज चाहिए, ये दोनों चाहिए.
The question I have is regarding Quest for Passion. When do we say that, so a lot of times we try out different things and we like each of the things that we do. When do you say this is the aha thing? And when do you stop it? Because to stop it now, and there are 10 other things that are lying there, which you could potentially like it. So when do you take it, that this is it?
I have an answer for that.
Yeah.
You have a question, and you go to 10 people and ask that question, and 10 people give you 10 different answers. How do you know that this is the right one? Because if you have the question, you have the answer with you. You have the question, you have the answer with you. It's just for you to get it revealed, and at times it comes out from people outside. It can also come out from within.
I'll also add to that, saying that it may take some time. It's not like it will come in an instant. It will come in an instant, but with
some experience, but sometimes better. So,
And I actually go back to what I said earlier. Think about your motivation. Why are you doing it? Why do you want to do it? What about it is interesting to you? And if you're honest with yourself, you'll know. You'll know what it is.
I think the other point is, if you want to take risks, the best is to look at your needs. Can you telescope your needs to such a small amount that, when I used to work, I always had my resignation letter in my pocket. I mean, not literally. But I said, God has given me a healthy body. If I don't have a job, I can feed myself. I'll work as a coolie because physical effort is something I can do. I can lift and I can earn about 50 rupees, 60 rupees a day and I'll feed myself. So, there are no golden handcuffs. And I never had to do it. But that is because I felt free I could tell a boss, I don't agree with you. If he fired me, so what? But my dignity, my principles, I always had with me. So, be prepared to live the life of a beggar. And you may never have to live the life of a beggar. You may live the life of a king.
Last question, and then it's great that you guys were lucky enough to have your. It's great that you guys were lucky enough to go to your dream and succeed in that. But what about those people who went to their dreams and couldn't succeed? In this particular thing, I would like to give examples of some of my friends who actually liked music and went to the music career and drowned the music career despite hard work. They used to practice hours and hours. But still they drowned the career because they couldn't create opportunities in the society. So what is the answer?
How old is your friend?
90.
One of the most famous musicians across the world, excluding your Britney Spears as a aberration in that group, they all became successful after they were 40, 45. Even if you look at it in India, you take a KP or you take a Dr. Balram, just tell them to hang on and keep singing. Just hang on.